Hi guys. I quickly just wanted to pop on and make a really quick, like, informal video. I mean, not to say that any of my videos have been formal, but I'm in my living room. I'm in my pajamas. I'm not like feeling the best, but I just wanted to pop on because I had my sixth injection of trizepatide on Thursday. So a little over 24 hours ago at this point. And so last week for my fifth injection, I stayed at the 2.5. And the 2.5 is what I have been on since the beginning because you have to stay on the 2.5 for at least 4 weeks. So I stayed on the 2.5 for 4 weeks, and then I had my meeting again with the nurse practitioner after the 4 week period. And then I was given the option to either move up to 5 or to wait and let her know when I wanted to move up to 5. And I know there's a lot of discussion surrounding when to titrate up and when, you know, if you should do it on the schedule, because the standard schedule, the way that the medication was originally designed, is every 4 weeks you titrate up to the next dose. But new research has come out and a lot of new evidence has supported not moving up until you feel you are ready, or you feel like the current dose that you are on is no longer giving you the benefits that you want. So I was doing great on the 2.5. I was feeling good. I was doing great. I was clearly losing because I had lost 16 pounds in my first month. But I think one thing that I have to be aware of is, number one, that's a lot of water weight. So a lot of that is water and inflammation. And I kind of knew that going in because that's very standard practice that whenever you start a new diet, you initially drop a lot of weight in the first like month and the first 2 months, because that's all water weight and inflammation that's coming off of your body. Now, 16 pounds in 1 month is still a lot of weight. Regardless of if it's water weight or inflammation, it's still a lot of weight. So what I was curious to know is, can I stay on the 2.5 and still get the same results? And I had been feeling great. Very minimal side effects, like occasional nausea, occasional headaches. And the nausea was really the day, or usually the first day or the second day following my injection. So, I mean, I was happy with what I was seeing and with the progress that I was making on the 2.5. So then I ended up moving, you know, some things around at work, and I've kind of changed my schedule this past week. And my daughter has been sick and she's been not doing well, and I've had to stay home with her. And I had a really stressful weekend on Mother's Day weekend. It was really stressful for me. So I felt, for the first time since I have been on this medication, I felt extreme hunger. And when I say extreme hunger, I mean could not get it out of my mind. Like, you need to eat, you need to eat, you need to eat. I That's my first time experiencing this type of hunger since I have started this medication. Genuinely. I mean, I have had no cravings. I've had the feeling of hunger because hunger is normal. Like, you're not supposed to not feel hunger. So, my first 2 weeks, I took the injection in my arm. And during that time of taking it in my arm, I felt like minimal hunger. Like, I would get cravings, like, ooh, this sounds good, that sounds good, but it wasn't anything over the top and it wasn't anything intense. It was just something where I felt very manageable. I felt like it was very manageable, and I felt like, okay, yeah, of course, like sometimes ice cream sounds good, but I was able to say no. And if I did say yes, it would be like 1 or 2 bites, right? And I was fine. I actually, on my son's birthday, I keep using this example because pizza is one of those foods that I would consider like a trigger food because I love it. And if it's in the house, I'm going to eat it. And my son, for his first birthday, we had ordered pizza and breadsticks. And I did not partake at all because it just didn't sound appetizing, to be honest with you. It just didn't. And when I was hungry, my brain was definitely gravitating more towards, oh, I want a salad, I want a grilled chicken wrap, I want veggies, fresh whole foods. So it was great. And like I said, side effects were minimal and it was doing what I wanted it to do. It was basically performing as advertised. Then fast forward to, um, you know, week 3 and 4, I got the medication once in my thigh and once in my stomach because up until that point, my first 2 injections were in the back of my arm. Because the clinic that I go to, they actually do the injection for me. I elect to not self inject because I do not want to inject myself if I can help it. So thankfully, the clinic that I go to, they inject for me. So I was getting it in the back of my arm and then I switched to my thigh and my stomach. When I tell you the first injection that I had in my thigh was week 3, I had no hunger. Like I almost had an adverse reaction to food. Like food sounded completely unappetizing. I had zero appetite. I was still tracking my calories. My calories were maybe 1,000 a day, if that, sometimes 900, sometimes, whoa, my daughter's on the couch with me. She's jumping around, but sometimes 1,000, sometimes 1,200. I mean, they were very low. Like I had no desire to eat at all. And I don't really want that, right? I mean, I think nourishing your body is really important, and I'm trying to preserve muscle mass. So, in order to preserve muscle mass, you need to have a high protein intake. And if you don't have a high protein intake, it's really hard to not lose lean muscle. Like I said in my last video, it's inevitable you're going to lose muscle mass when you are dropping a significant amount of weight. But I was eating in such a deficit that I knew I was losing muscle. So I went to the clinic and I went on the in-body scan, which shows you, like I talked about, your skeletal muscle mass, your dry lean mass, your body fat percentage, your water, your visceral fat level, all of it. And it did show that I had lost, I think, almost 2 pounds of dry lean mass. You do not want that. I do not want that personally, I should say. So I said, okay, let me change the injection site. So then I got it in my stomach. Same thing. Felt completely no hunger whatsoever. Like almost same thing, adverse reaction to food. I felt a little bit more inclined to eat, but still the hunger was non existent. No cravings at all. So then I thought, well, I don't really want that. Let me switch to, proceeding with the arm, to going back to the arm. So then week 5, I went back to the arm. And week 5 was also the week going into Mother's Day weekend. I ate out a lot. I mean, I went out with a friend to celebrate her engagement. I went out for Mother's Day. I went to the farmer's market. There was a lot that I did, but I was hungry the whole time. I had cravings. I got an ice cream cone. My daughter wanted ice cream, and normally I would say, no, I don't want it, and I would be totally fine. But looking at everybody else eating the ice cream, I was like, okay, I want one. It sounds really good. Even though I got a kid size cone, that's all I got, I still felt the difference. Psychologically, something was different. I wasn't able to just say no. I mean, of course I can. Of course, right? We can say no to anything. But I felt the psychological effects that the medication was having in the 4 weeks prior and in throughout the entire time I had been on it were definitely not the same. I was experiencing extreme hunger. I was experiencing cravings. It was almost as if everything was back to square one. And I was really nervous about that. So I went in on Thursday for my sixth injection, so beginning week 6, and I requested to move up to the 5 milligram. And I said, I feel like my body is kind of not getting the same effects. I'm getting my hunger back. I'm getting my food noise back. I think it's time to move up to the 5 milligrams. So I did. Well, I came home Thursday evening, the day of my injection. Now, mind you, typically, and I know I'm not the only one that feels this way. Um, sorry. Ow. Sometimes I have like neck pain randomly because I was in a car accident over a year ago and it's still bugging me. But aside from that, um, I I came home Thursday after my sixth injection of trizepatide. I moved it up to 5 milligrams that day. That was my first dose of 5 milligrams, and I got it in my arm. So I came home. Now, I will tell you that I went all day without eating because my stomach had been hurting. So after my injection appointment, which was, not until after 4:30, and then I had to drive home in traffic, I stopped at Chick-fil-A and I got a kale crunch salad, a 12 count grilled nugget, and a Cool Wrap. So I ate the kale crunch salad in the car. I ate the 12 count grilled nugget in the car, and then I ate half of the Cool Wrap in the car. I don't use the Cool Wrap dressing that comes with it, the avocado lime ranch. I use the honey mustard packet, which I think is only 90 calories, and I only use half of it. So that was a relatively low calorie meal. I know the kale crunch salad and the 12 count grilled nugget together are 370 calories. And then I think half of the Cool Wrap is another 200 calories. So you're still looking at, you know, under 600 right there. But then I also had a barbell protein bar that is 210 calories, 20 grams of protein. So I definitely got my protein in. With the grilled nuggets have a ton of protein. The Cool Wrap with the grilled chicken has a decent amount of protein and a decent amount of fiber. And then the barbell has 20 grams of protein. But then I came home and I was doing dishes and I still felt hungry. So I said, okay, I'm going to have a protein shake. So I grabbed a Fairlife Elite protein shake, 42 grams of protein, 230 calories. So a substantial, nutrient dense beverage. Drank the protein shake. I was fine. I'm like, okay, I physically feel full. I physically feel satiated. What about my day? Then around, I don't know, like 8:30 at night, um somebody had ordered ice cream to the house and there was a strawberry shortcake. And I am not a huge ice cream lover. Like, I'm not a sweets person. I am first and foremost a savory person. That's always been like my weakness, cheese bread, pasta, all that. But I had a strawberry shortcake because strawberry shortcake is my absolute favorite. I just love the way the shortcake like melts in with the ice cream and the fresh berries. It's just really, really good. So I had a strawberry shortcake. I tracked it. It was from a local ice cream parlor, so they don't have their macros listed on a website or anything. It's a very mom and pop type of place. Um, but the best I could, I just tracked the California Pizza Kitchen strawberry shortcake because I know that comes with a piece of shortcake, ice cream, strawberries, the whole nine. And that came out to 870 calories. Now, again, like, I don't know if that's 100% accurate with what I ate because the strawberry shortcake that I ate was from a local business and they don't list their calories and macros anywhere. But California Pizza Kitchen, I've been there before. And so I kind of thought it would be similar, but regardless, it had ice cream, it had strawberries, it had a shortcake, it had whipped cream. Like, it was high in calories. 870 doesn't surprise me because ice cream is very calorically dense. So I'm eating the ice cream and I'm like, "Oh, this is good. This is good." At no point did I feel sick. At no point did I say, "I'm okay. I've had a couple bites. I don't think like no thank you. I don't want it anymore." At no point did I feel that way. This is on 5 milligrams. This is the day of my injection, which is typically the day where I'm like, oh my God, like I can't eat anything. Now, this was about 4 hours after the injection, and I had it in my arm. And I recall going back to my son's first birthday when I was on the 2.5, and we had cake for my son's birthday, and I didn't even want the cake. And it was my favorite cake. It was marble cake with buttercream frosting. I didn't even want the cake. I took one bite and I was like repulsed, right? Like I didn't want it. So I'm like, why did I just eat that whole strawberry shortcake? I didn't feel anything. I felt no adverse reaction to it at all. So then later that night, I was working on my computer because I do have the ability to work from home. So I was catching up on some work. And then I started watching a new show. Um, Kind of off topic. I'm not a big TV person. I never have been. Um, but when there is a show that I really like then I take full advantage of that because it's rare and it's few and far between. A lot of the shows that I really like are no longer on the air, like The Sopranos, Game of Thrones, um, Boardwalk Empire, like all those shows are, they're no longer on the air and I've already seen them. So I'm not going to rewatch them. So when I do find a show that I like, I take that time at night when everybody's asleep and I sit and I watch that show. Well, one of my favorite shows is The White Lotus, and The White Lotus season 4 just ended recently. But when The White Lotus was on, every Sunday, I was in the living room. I would wait sometimes until 10 o'clock at night because I had to wait for like my daughter, my son to be asleep. I had to wait for like my evening cleanup and stuff to be done. But I would come downstairs, I would put on The White Lotus, and like I was in the zone because I am not somebody who sits on the couch and watches TV like very rarely. So when I do that, it's a very ritualistic thing and it's something that I really want to like relish and be present and enjoy because it happens so infrequently. So I was doing that now. I started watching a show on Netflix called The Four Seasons. Really good, really funny, not anywhere near as good as The White Lotus, but I mean, there are few shows that are. But so I started watching the show called The Four Seasons. So I was sitting on the couch doing my work, having the show on, and then I'm like, you know what sounds really good is pizza. I used to get Domino's pizza at least once a week. It was usually on Thursdays when my daughter had Girl Scouts. And I didn't put the two and two together because it had been weeks since I had had pizza. It had been weeks since I had had pizza, which is rare for me because I used to get it once a week, if not more. So I was like, oh, it sounds good. It sounds good. It sounds good. Okay, I ordered it. Well, the pizza was going to take forever to get here. So I'm like, you know what also sounds good is a chicken wrap. So then I order a chicken wrap. And I'm like sitting there and I'm thinking, I am literally back to my old hat. I'm back to square one, literally. Because that's what I used to do when I would watch The White Lotus is I would order like all these different foods from these different restaurants and I would order one and then I would be like, oh, it's going to take, 45 minutes to get here. Let me order something else, eat it while I wait. And majority of the time I wouldn't eat all the food. Like I would end up putting it in the fridge and other people would eat it the next day, and that's kind of what happened. I ended up having half the chicken wrap, which was just literally chicken, lettuce, tomato in a pita. That was it. And I made a homemade like ranch with low fat mayo and whatever. But and then I had some hummus and cucumbers, and then I had like 3 or 4 pieces of the pizza. Now, mind you, when I get the pizza from Domino's, I do get the thin crust. And Domino's thin crust pizza is like very thin. So it's crispy and crunchy, and that's how I like my pizza. So I mean, calorically, all of that together, like half the chicken wrap, 4 ounces of hummus, and like 3 to 4 pieces of the thin crust pizza was probably like, I don't know, another 800 calories. So a lot of calories unnecessarily because I wasn't hungry. And I knew I wasn't hungry, but it was in here. Like, and I think it was more so, okay, you're sitting down, you're watching a show. It's Thursday. My mind didn't really click that it was Thursday, but Thursday usually was the days that I would get Domino's when my daughter had Girl Scouts, because Girl Scout nights are a really hectic night. We don't get home till late, so I'd always order Domino's, and then by the time we got home, the food would have already been delivered. But it was just, and I honestly feel like it was all about routine, right? Like it's all up here, it's all mental, it's all routine. And I'm trying to think of what the connection is because the whole time I've been doing this medication, I haven't had any cravings. I mean, literally, I'm not trying to exaggerate and sell you something, or not sell you something, like, but tell you something that's inaccurate. But I have had no cravings whatsoever. And for whatever reason, I was just like, oh my God, like this sounds good and this sounds good. It was like I was insatiable. It was so frustrating, but I honestly am trying to make, and this is why I want to do these YouTube videos, because I think talking out loud really helps you to make connections. Because when when I talk to other people about it, it's a back and forth conversation. But when I'm talking to a camera, it's just myself. And now that I think about it, I'm thinking, you know what? It was probably that ritualistic mindset setting in, because the White Lotus was off, had finished prior to me starting the injections. So I hadn't sat down and watched a show in 6 weeks. So now I'm sitting down, I'm alone, it's nighttime, I'm watching a show. I think it was just all of that ritualistic, like, second nature coming back to mind, because that was a part of it too. It wasn't just watching the show, it was the process and the ritual of, oh, everybody's asleep, nobody needs me, I don't need, nobody, I'm not at anybody's beck and call. I can just sit down, I can relax, I can have time to myself. And I think it was just all tying in. Now, I also need to learn ways to combat that, right? Like, just because I'm sitting down and watching a show doesn't mean that food has to go hand in hand with that experience. I can still sit down and enjoy a show without feeling the need to eat if I'm not hungry, which I genuinely physically was not hungry, because I had eaten the protein drink, the grilled nuggets, the kale crunch salad, the half of the Cool Wrap, the barbell. Like, I had eaten enough protein for me to be satiated and for me to not have to be hungry, especially not hungry enough to eat an additional 1,600 calories, which is more than what I'm supposed to have in a day. So fast forward to today, Friday, and I woke up not hungry at all. I woke up very bloated. I woke up very, like, lethargic, feeling really full, a feeling that I hate, a feeling that I genuinely haven't had since taking this medication. Like, this medication has done a very good job of keeping me not bloated and keeping me just feeling like really lean and light. And I had not experienced that today. So I didn't eat again all day because I wasn't hungry, right? I know there's a lot of controversy around not eating, like you should eat first thing in the morning. I know that there's a lot of research that's coming out now about women and intermittent fasting and how it just doesn't do the same thing for our bodies that it does for a man. Biologically, we're made differently. We have hormones that need to be regulated in a different way. We have a different set of our endocrine systems. Everything's different, right? I don't know her first name, but it's Dr. Sims. I'm sure everybody knows her who's in, the weight loss community. She talks a lot about women's health and how fasting is not a protocol that is really going to work for a woman, and why it's so important for women to eat first thing in the morning, especially for cortisol and cortisol regulation and stress management. So I do take a lot of that into account. I do read a lot of scholar articles and I do my own research and I listen to a lot of reputable sources on YouTube and otherwise. Um, Another really good resource that I would encourage you guys to check out is Dr. Rocio Salas Whalen. She is a obesity medicine expert, and she also has done a lot of research on obesity as a disease and on women's health and perimenopause and postmenopausal health. And I think she's a fantastic resource. I watched her on the Mel Robbins podcast, and I really thought that she was a phenomenal guest. I love the way that Mel Robbins interviews people. She asks really thoughtful and meaningful questions, and I loved the interview. So if you want to check her out, just look up Mel Robbins, Dr. Rocio Salas Whalen, and it will come up. Really fascinating stuff. The whole conversation was surrounding GLP-1 and women's health. So if you're interested in that, then go check it out. But I just wanted to come on, like I said, super informal. I'm not feeling well, but I just wanted to come on and kind of ask everyone's opinion. Like, have you experienced increased hunger or increased cravings at any point in your journey on a GLP-1 if you are taking one? If you are not taking one, is this something that you're afraid of? I was like, no way in heck I'm going to put my body through injecting it with something that it's not accustomed to, even though we make the GLP-1 hormone already, so it's not introducing something new, but still, like, I'm not going to go through the time, the effort, the money, etc., etc., to inject myself with something if it's not going to work, right? Like if I'm going to see very minimal results. And I was skeptical, and I was skeptical for a very long time. And when I got on the medicine, I was shocked because of how it was night and day. Just the hunger cues and the food noise and the cravings, it was a night and day, and I was so happy with my results. But going into week 5 and week 6, I just feel like I'm not seeing the results that I want anymore. And that's just as blunt as I can be, as transparent as I can be. Because last week when I weighed in for the start of week 6, so this past Thursday, yesterday, the 15th, I only lost 1 pound. Now, 1 pound is 1 pound. That brings me my total loss to 17 pounds in 6 weeks, because the 15th was the start of my 6th week. So I say all that to say, a lot of it is mental. I know that. A lot of it is me having to break up those habits, having to learn to not attach food to certain activities, which I think we all do. It's very, very common. But I also have questions about the injection site. I'm injecting in the arm, and I feel like I'm doing that because when I did the thigh and the stomach, I felt no hunger. I mean, it was scary. Like, I wasn't eating anything. I had to force myself to eat 1,000 calories a day. And people say, oh, you don't even know. You say you eat 1,000 calories, but really you're eating way more. No, I track everything to the gram. I have a food scale. I use it correctly. I track everything to the gram, so I know what I'm consuming. But I don't know, is it worth going back to injecting in the thigh and seeing how that works with the 5 milligrams? I think that's what I'm going to do, honestly, because it's not worth it for me to be on this if I'm going to go all the way back to square one. It's just not. But I don't want to give up, and I don't want to feel like it was all for nothing, because the progress I have made is substantial and I'm very happy with it. I don't want that to be misconstrued. Like, 17 pounds is a huge loss. I'm very happy with it, but I'm doing this not for the number on the scale so much as to fix my relationship with food, because it's been long rooted in childhood, and a lot of it has been ritualistic. Like, we used to get donuts every Sunday after church, so that that ritual of going to church and getting donuts. They're so linked, right? My father used to pick me up from school on his day off from work, which was usually Wednesdays. And every day he would pick me up, he'd be waiting with a slice of pizza from this like local like deli that we have, this like local Italian deli that we had at the house where I grew up. And he would always be waiting with, like, it was wrapped in foil and it was like this nice little decent sized slice of pizza. So I would always associate my dad picking me up with pizza, which is probably why I love pizza so much, because, you know, my relationship with my father has been not the best always, but I've always wanted to spend more time with him. So when I think back to when I was a child, it was always associated with food, because he would either get me pizza or he would take me out to lunch, and we would always go to this like bar called Cloverleaf, and they were known for having like Detroit's best pizza. And we would always go there, or he would take me fishing. But before we went fishing, we would always stop at 7-Eleven. And at the time, in the little like hot food section, 7-Eleven sold, it was like a taquito, but instead of being filled with like chicken and cheese, it was a Bosco stick filled with pepperoni and sauce, right? So another pizza related item. So I think it's really important to make those connections in your mind. I am 31 and I just now started making these connections. Like, why do certain foods have such a hold over me over others, right? Because I never went out for ice cream as a kid. Like, that wasn't a thing. So that kind of makes sense why I'm not really a big sweets eater now, because everything that we did relating to food, it was always around savory food. So I think a lot of it is that component, and that's something that only I can deal with, right? Like, GLP-1 medicine is not going to fix that. It's not going to fix your childhood trauma. It's not going to fix the reason that you have certain emotional ties to certain dishes, even like cultural ties, right? Like, if you grew up in a household that was, you know, Italian or Indian or Mexican, you're going to have emotional ties and cultural ties to certain foods. That's just how it is. A GLP-1 isn't going to fix that. And it's not to say that there's anything to fix. We should celebrate our culture, and food is a giant part. It's a substantial part of cultural significance is cuisine. But I also know that, you know, I have to change my lifestyle, and a big part of that is separating those ties. So separating the ties between watching a show and ordering a bunch of food, right? Like, they cannot go hand in hand any longer. So that's something that I have to work on. And then another thing I want to work on is what should I do with the injection site? Should I get it in the arm again? I don't think I'm going to, but you guys let me know. If you're on a GLP-1, where do you inject? Do you see a difference in the results and how you feel based on where you inject? If you do, that's something I would really be interested to hear about, because I don't know anybody else that's on a GLP-1. Actually, that's not true. My coworker is on Ozempic, but her and I don't talk about it. Like, she just told me once, you know, because our insurance through our employer, when our deductibles reset in January, her insurance no longer covered the Ozempic until she met her deductible. So she was telling me how expensive it was and she needs it, but that's the only reason I know that she's on it. And then aside from that, we don't talk about it. So I would love to know if you have tips, tricks, talk about injection. Not you, Siri. Talk about injection sites. Talk about, have you gone through this hurdle where you felt like, okay, I don't feel the effects anymore. And it's not like I can bump up to 7.5. I'm already at 5, right? Like, I need to take it as it comes, and I need to kind of figure this out. So any advice, tips, tricks would be appreciated. Please subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to build up more subscribers, and I'm trying to build up more of a community. And I post a ton of shorts. Like, I post a short at least once a day. So go check out my shorts as well. If you have any questions, please put them down below, and like and subscribe. Thank you.